former Republican congressman and Fox News contributor now, Jason Chaffetz. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thanks
for having me.
You're a former Republican congressman. You're not a former Republican, though, right?
True conservative
Did I
right here.
forget to say congressman?
No. Because the President of the United States is blasting Republicans, including you, apparently, although you just got out of town. He just tweeted out, Congressman, if Republicans don't repeal and replace the disastrous Obamacare, the repercussions will be far greater than any of them understand. We just had Mark Meadows on, and he understands the frustration with people. Looks like Congress isn't doing their job.
Well, this is the one big promise that we had. Now it's in the hands of the Senate. And understand what's coming up for a vote. It's a motion to proceed. The most deliberative body on the face of the planet. The question, and 100% of Republicans should vote for this, is should we have the debate?
Right.
That's the vote that's up to this week.
It's not a vote on a specific bill.
That's right. Nobody even knows what bill they're actually ultimately going to be voting on. But should we have the debate? I can't imagine that Susan Collins and Capito and, go down the list. These people have to vote for a motion.
Is he saying you're going to lose your election, your re-election, if you don't get on board? Or is he saying that Obamacare is going to fail and millions of Americans are going to be without health care?
It's all of the above. It's pretty obvious. It's the #1 thing we campaigned on. We were going to repeal and replace Obama.
Is there risk, though, for this president to take on his own party?
No, he's calling out the obvious. I mean, I understand the consequences. The leader of the Republican Party, I think he's doing them a service.
When you walked in, we started talking a little bit about the fact that Jared Kushner has released 11 pages of testimony he's going to deliver before Congress later this week. And you said, regarding Jared Kushner, Republicans need to grow a backbone.
Yeah, Republicans need to get a backbone. Every time the Democrats say they need to call up Jared Kushner or Donald Trump Jr., they call up Chelsea Clinton, call up the Clintons. There we have an inspector general who issues a report stating an actual crime. You have Bill Clinton, the former president, taking millions and millions of dollars from countries that Hillary Clinton was then going into doing business. So every time a Democrat says, I got to talk to Donald Trump Jr., they go up and bring Chelsea Clinton in there because she was involved in the Benghazi situation. She was involved with the foundation. I mean, when I tried as the chairman of the Oversight Committee to bring in Ben Rhodes to talk about the Iran situation, nobody knows what the deal with Iran was. They claimed executive privilege. I think the Trumps need to actually get a lot of credit for openness and transparency. They didn't delete their emails. They provided their emails. When they wanted to talk to them, they said, you can talk to us. And yet when we did the same thing with the Democrats, they give us a stiff arm every single step of the way.
Former Congressman, you know there is a double standard in Washington, D.C. and the mainstream media.
And there's a double standard with the United States Senate Republicans because they are holding them to a much higher standard with very little evidence than they ever did the Clintons. And that investigation, why did it end? Just because there was a political election. I think that's wrong.
People were all up in arms about that meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian lawyer. Jared happened to be in on that meeting, and so did Paul Manafort. So Jared's going to go in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee today. He did release the 11 pages. We have it here. We've been reading it. He says at one point he shook hands and made pleasantries with one of the Russian ambassador, the Kislyak guy. He said it lasted less than a minute. Reuters was reporting that he had 2 phone calls with Russian ambassador. He said that didn't happen. They've gone through all of his phone records. He said he sent a message later on asking someone within the campaign, what is the name of that Russian ambassador? Meaning they're not friends.
I forgot.
And then what was interesting is that meeting with the Russian attorney, he said that he realized this was not a meeting with information about Hillary Clinton. This was
10 minutes in, he realized.
She pulled us in to talk about adoption. So he writes, they have this proof in a text message. He writes his assistant, can you please call on my cell? Need excuse to get out of the meeting.
Have you ever done that, Congressman?
Well, there's an app for that now, so you can get it, actually make your phone ring and you can get out of it.
After reading all of this, what's your reaction?
Look, the Senate staffers should have done this research. It is absolutely ridiculous that he is coming to Capitol Hill. He's got a lot of other important things to do. And they would never, ever, ever do this to the Clintons. And that is what is fundamentally wrong with this. They could have easily, of all the people in the world, they could have easily claimed executive privilege on this one. Proximity to the president, it's his son-in-law, and he's his closest advisor. He could have easily pulled that off. But there he is. He's going to go in there as an open book, and they should get a lot of credit for it.
You were talking about Republican backbones. The president was tweeting as well over the weekend. As the phony Russian witch hunt continues, 2 groups are laughing at this excuse for a lost election taking hold, Democrats and Russians. It's very sad, the president said, that Republicans, even some that were carried over the line on my back, do very little to protect their president. Do you think Republicans on the Hill should be speaking out more in his defense?
Well, look, it's not the role of rank-and-file Republican to protect the president. But when you look at what's going on in Capitol Hill, particularly this investigation, it really is infuriating because we never did finish the investigation. And part of this is on the Trump administration. There are 300 or so people who mishandled classified information in this Hillary Clinton scandal, and yet the State Department still has an open investigation. You never read an article about it. You never hear the Senate involved and engaged in this. Where is that investigation? Where are they going to do with those people?
And so much of that information has come to the mainstream media through these leaks. And we've got a new communications director who said in the comm shop, the communications department shop, everybody got amnesty with me coming in. But if anybody leaks going forward, they're going to get canned.
Well, Anthony Scaramucci, I love him because you know what? He speaks native Trump. He actually understands how this is going to work. He's a fighter, and I think he will do a very good job of translating and doing this on a daily basis on behalf of the president.
Okay, Congressman, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thanks for having me.